would like to review the SHA-3 competition and comparison to Bitcoin scalable issues. And this is also reviews the fact, and I would like to map some process to Bitcoin issues, and I would like to explain the similarity and differences. And next, I would like to shortly explain other experience in transition of technology. We had some practice on transition. So I think that we had a similar situation as hash function in 2004. So currently used technology has some drawbacks. This is a general event on many technologies. And we should now revisit if the current technology is trustable and stable. And the question is that the current technology is good enough for long-term use. And with considering advance of technology and change of applications. So I would like to show the abstract of history of SHA-3 competition. In 2004, we faced a compromise of standard hash function, including MD5, RIPE-MD, SHA-0, and SHA-1. I would like to note that SHA-2 is still secure. And after that, so we decided that to develop a new hash function in 2005. So at that time, so we tried to create a new future alternative to SHA-2, and we decided to open competition by international researchers. And this was the same as AES competition. And I think that that competition was succeeded in making technology consensus by its careful process. So I would like to explain that the problem we faced in 2004. So this slide shows that cryptographic definition of hash functions. We have three definitions: primary resistant, second primary resistant, and collision resistant. And so if some hash function do not fulfill the second primary resistant characteristics, it results forgery of data signature and hash change. And in 2004, it is pointed out that MD5, RIPE-MD, and SHA-0 is not collision resistant. This is the start point of the SHA-3 competition. And so there are the many intentions to initiate the competition by NIST and cryptographers. So they believe that the competition promotes the research on hash function. So that was the same as AES competition. So at that time, at the AES competition, we obtained much research results and knowledge from the competition competition on block ciphers. And at that time, we didn't have sufficient knowledge on secure hash function. So we had another intention that even if the SHA-1 was compromised, NIST has SHA-2 as an alternative of the SHA-1. However, SHA-2 has a similar structure as SHA-1. This is so-called Markov-Dangard construction. So at that time, they thought that it's a good time to initiate a competition. And so we needed that to consider another option at that time. So we had three major steps in the SHA-3 competition. After the compromise of standard hash function found in 2004, we had the preparation phase at first. And after that, NIST published the Federal Register for the competition itself. And after that, we had several aberration the selection phase for SHA-3 hash function. After that, we had a winner, Kechak, in 2012. At the first workshop in the preparation phase, we identified the problem in hash function. After that, we had extensive discussions in the mailing list. In the second workshop, we discussed on technical requirements on future hash function. I think that this green box is quite similar as this series of Bitcoin scalability workshops. So in the third phase of this competition, the most selection process was based on the academic papers. So at first, NIST selects several candidates by screening process. After that, at the first conference held in 2009, so there are many presentations of 51 candidates for the technical details. After that, NIST selects 14 candidates for second round. At the second conference held in 2010, so we had extensive security and performance evaluation at that time. And so after that, so NIST selects 5 finalists. And at the third conference held in 2012, so we continued evaluation on security and performance. We also considered about how the finalist is complement SHA-2. And NIST has a strong philosophy in the SHA-3 competition. The first is open and public discussions. So they have such kind of discussions in setting technical requirements and security and performance evaluation. And it is done using the mailing list and wiki. And so they screen that, they select the technologies with security evaluation first, then they select the fewer number of technologies by using performance evaluation. And so they had much cooperation with academic communities, and they refer to peer-reviewed papers as evidence of selection. And so NIST SHA-3 conferences were co-located with top conferences. This is good evidence. There was many cooperation with academic community. And so requirements and evaluation criteria were consistently given by NIST. So lesson learned from this slide is we already have good open and public discussions in the mailing list. And so we need some more cooperation with academic communities. And we should have some kind of well-written requirements and evaluation criteria. I think that this is discussed in this workshop and after the workshop in the mailing list. And so I think that results journal will help our activities. And in the first workshop of the preparation phase, we discussed 3 issues. One is a study on attacks. So we reviewed the recent attack on hash function, not limited to SHA-1. And so we reviewed also SHA-2, security of SHA-2 and the impact. And the second is how to migrate to the how to migrate. So we discussed a short-term workaround and could we continue to use SHA-1, so benefit and cost for transition to the next technology. And so we also discussed about needed research topics. And so I would like to suggest that at this workshop, we should identify the problem and the research items and the way for migration. So after that, in the mailing list discussion, NIST collects any technical information and opinions, including more analysis on the problem, such as some more attacks on existing hash. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, and so it is not related to SHA-1 or other standard hash. And new technologies included, including the newly proposed hash function, so design theory and methodology, and so they also exploring requirements with analysis of application and operation environment. So I would like to suggest that we should continue discussion on the requirement and technologies in the mailing list. And in the second workshop, we discussed 2 kinds of issues. One is a more study about security of hash function and requirements. And we also discussed on the design theory of new hash function and the recent attacks and deep analysis of application. And for competition, there were two major questions. One is so we should select the one general hash function or several specific hash functions. This is a major problem. And the other question is so how we design the next hash function. And after that, after this workshop, NIST and this community decided that because SHA-2 has a similar structure as SHA-1, the committee directed to initiate a competition. So I would like to say that I should move to technical review for the next technology, and we need some requirements. But some requirements are already discussed in the mailing list. So we should build consensus on firm requirements, evaluation criteria, evaluation platform, target application, and platform in the second workshop in Hong Kong. And in the Federal Register, NIST proposed technical requirements on the SHA-3, including a tunable parameter, which covers the trade-off between the security and performance. And they also show us clearly target application of hash function, including the signature, mark, KDF, and random bit generator. And I would like to say that we should issue an agreed document on requirements. And in the evaluation process of round one, so NIST screened by application document to 51, and so in that round, NIST mainly focused on the security evaluation of 51, and with cooperation with academic conferences, and the result of security evaluation was aggregated into the SHA-3. SHA-3 is a wiki site which collects the current status of security of each hash function. And I would like to suggest that again that cooperation with academic community is good. So we should build an open repository for security and stability evaluation. In round two, NIST allowed each applicant to make some kind of tweaks. And so NIST and the community made more security analysis. But so evaluation interest moved to performance. NIST and the community set the common evaluation environment for hardware and software. And many researchers opened a source code for evaluation and provide them the public verifiable. And eBash project collects the result of performance evaluation and publish by using this website. And NIST collects performance evaluation data through this process. Then NIST selected 5 finalists. In the round 3, a small amount of tweak was allowed, and rigorous analysis of security margin was made, and performance evaluation for possible application and platform was made, and they also thought about the complementing SHA-2 with SHA-3. And Keccak was selected because that Keccak has enough security and performance for possible applications and platforms, and they have diversity of design. They have also not MD construction, but they use a sponge-based construction. So attacks on SHA-1 and SHA-2 are not applied to Keccak. So I would like to suggest that so if we have fewer technical options, we have 51 options in SHA-3, but if we have fewer technical options, we can merge round 2 and round 3. And the process can be done through the mailing list and open repository. And so we can prepare performance evaluation easily. So we already done such kind of evaluation. And confirmation security and stability first, then evaluate performance is a good process for to make a consensus. And the one remains the question is so we should consider long-term stability and technological diversity. This is the one question. And so I note that the organization of this competition We have NIST and hash designer and cryptographer and evaluators. And NIST holds several conferences, and so they organize the open mailing list. And we have the academic communities and conference. The SHA-3 is with rigorous peer-reviewed papers. And so hash designer and so evaluator send some kind of technical document to academic communities and NIST. And so NIST conference refers as academic conference, the result of academic conference. And so NIST also refer result from both conferences. And NIST organizes the whole process and the conferences, the set requirements, and the selection and decision. And the problem is, and this was discussed yesterday, we don't have NIST in this issue and in this community. This workshop and follow-up discussion in the mailing list act the same role, but we need some neutral committee here. And I would like to conclude a good practice from SHA-3. We open discussion on the public verifiability are key to fairness. And so firm requirements, evaluation criteria, evaluation platform, and target platform and applications should be defined. And the cooperation with academic community is important. And so aiming design diversity is good for long-term stability. I would add a short explanation of my experience in hash function, what is transition. So in general, cryptography is not perfect. And in some application of cryptography, changing underlying technology is not so easy. For example, so data signature data is accessed for a long time. And we should change data itself by changing hash function or key size itself. And transition plan is needed for technology change. And NIST published transition plan for changing hash, ciphers, and data signature in SP 800-131A. There was a 3 years margin for change technologies. But I think that scaling Bitcoin transaction is different problem from hash function. I think that it's easier to solve than hash problem. So I would like to conclude my talks. Firm requirements, open discussion, public verifiability, fair and consistent evaluation platform, and cooperation is the keys of the success in the SHA-3 competition. And I explain the detail of the competition and map the process and practice in Bitcoin issues. Thank you.